So when you were preparing for CMLL, what were the things that were going through your mind, like when you were on the airplane, or when you were, getting off the airplane, maybe getting to your hotel or wherever they put you at? What was the whole process like?
It was insane. I didn't believe it was happening until I got to Mexico City. I felt like, I mean, I had my flight, I had everything ready, but it didn't feel real. Sometimes I say people, it's not real until it happens. So it's not like it didn't feel real. It was almost like, is it really happening? Is it really happening? Is this happening? One of my concerns going to Mexico was the altitude. That's what I've heard. That's what a lot of other people were telling me. They're like, make sure your cardio is good, because I was like, your cardio is great now, but the altitude of Mexico City affects a lot of wrestlers
Oh.
because it becomes a little harder to breathe and stuff like that, just because of the altitude of the city, not because of other things. So then I was like, that was one of my like things. I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna feel winded when I get there? I'm gonna be one of those people. Am I gonna get dizzy? Because I just wasn't sure how my body was gonna react to the
Altitude.
altitude change, and I did feel the difference. Like, I want to say within a few hours of being there, I was like, oh, dude, it does feel a little bit harder to breathe. Or I did notice I would get a little like dizzy or lightheaded. And I was like, oh, this is what it is. And it was the altitude happening.
So after the match, did what happened after the match backstage? Did you just go to your locker room and then just left the hotel, or did you kind of stick around and talk to the other wrestlers in the promotion?
So I think so I feel like I'm trying to remember because it's like such a because we got to like I said, it's still work, right? So I think I remember getting to the locker room and then just kind of taking it in. I was like, oh my god! And then I was like, did I just do this? Did this really happen? Did I just did this? Did I just make history? Did this really happen? And then it's almost like I didn't know. It just didn't feel real for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And but after that, after I think, I was still super
You,
hype and
you have all the
adrenaline. I feel like I
adrenaline
couldn't
rushing.
speak and talk, and I'm like, oh my god, did this just happen? But after that, we have to wait because it's not like I can't leave. Like I had to hang
Yeah.
around. And then once the show's over and the fans have left the arena, then they take us back to the hotel. But I think then first night I did went out and hang out with the other talent. I was like, let me enjoy Mexico now. Like I just had this almost like this little
Mm-hmm.
celebratory dinner that I feel like I had because I feel like we did spend a lot of time from training arena hotel training arena. Like it was just
It's
very.
kind of like you left an impact with the wrestling community in there, in a sense, like not, I guess not the audience per se in that specific moment, but the talent that you worked with, where it's like you weren't just there to collect the check, you were there, you got to know them throughout the whole process. The match is over. But it was what, like a 2 night event, or?
So I did 5 nights, 5 matches.
Hmm.
So I wrestled Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So I had a total of 5 matches, and then I was there a total of a week. So yeah, like I think I've always been very appreciative, grateful, and of everything. The littlest thing, I'm happy. Um, I loved being Mexico. It was my first time in Mexico. Always a place I wanted to go. Same with the arena. So I was just more in awe that I
Hmm.
was there of anything. And then once everything was said and done, I was like almost in tears. I was like, oh my god, I really got to leave this place. This is amazing. I don't want to. And then almost like because it did so well in the crowd and how the people welcomed me and all that. It was such a pleasant experience.
How would you describe the atmosphere out there when it comes to you walking down the ramp, your music playing, you got the crowd over there? Because the crowd, I don't know if you've been watching WWE as much, because I mean, work is work, right? And most wrestlers probably don't watch other promotions just because, work is work. But you know, you watch WWE outside of the United States and you got the crowd singing left and right every theme song. They're really engaged with the product. And then over here, it's kind of like they got the regular chants and whatnot. So how would you describe the difference in crowd and atmosphere?
Honestly, me, I might be a little biased on this one just because I'm Latina. You know what I mean? I think so. And the Latino crowds are a little more rowdier. We're more, I don't know, we're just crazier. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we're just louder and bigger and stuff like that. But when it comes to chants, believe it, like Latino people still have their own unison chants that they say, just like, you know, like when they
Yeah.
say this is awesome,
Yeah.
and then in Spanish it's like esto es lucha. So
Yeah.
then it's almost, and hearing that is like it's, I don't know how to describe the feeling of both, you know, because sometimes you just don't know how the crowd's gonna perceive you, if you're gonna get cheer or boo. And whenever I'm in the crowd, you know, I'm like, okay, here I go, you know, I'm in the zone, and I'm always take the moment to look at the crowd, look at the people who are there, you know, because just like they're watching you, I think it's the same as important to connect with them by paying attention to them. And that's when I was able to notice that there were people with signs and they were happy, and I can see that they're taking photos of me, and I can see they're cheering me and clapping, and the, you know, so I was like, because I mean, first time in Mexico, I was like, are they gonna know how they're gonna perceive me? And then
Hmm.
whenever I look and they're watching and they're clapping and they have signs that says Alejandra Quintanilla there,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they do know. Okay, so so I first it goes from like being nervous before I step out of the curtain. Now I'm like, oh, this is exciting. This is, you know, this is great, and I feel like that helps my nerves go away.
I like that you bring that up because, you know, you think about it from this perspective. Every time you go wrestle in front of a different, like a different promotion or a different match, it's probably going to be somebody's first time seeing you, if not maybe the whole venue. So with that in mind, how do you react to the crowds when you're, whether it's a, you know, 1,000, you know, people crowd, a bigger crowd, smaller crowd, maybe it's a gym where it's maybe 50 people. How do you react to the crowd, and what do you do to bring a different, you know, flavor to that match?
I think one of the most important things is when I wrestle to entertain more than I wrestle for myself.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of wrestlers will know what I mean by that. So, like to me, it's very like I said, as long as I watch somebody and I connect and I be like, hey, pay attention, I'm right here, or little things that just kind of bring people focus. Because sometimes there's, like you said, there's times that people, that's their first time there, right? But there's also the people that don't want to be there. They just went because their kids like it,
Hmm.
so they don't know. So then, even those, I try to seek them out. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, here. So then I get their focus. So now they're like, oh, I should have been paying attention. So, you know, I feel like that's just kind of how I bring, you know, the fans in. Once I got their attention very early on from the littlest thing, from noticing them, then now they're watching me throughout the rest of the match.
So